It must be quite a time for you being elected, and in just a week's time, you will be heading into the August House as a first-time members of Parliament. You're among the many who've managed to tilt the political scales in the various areas that you have run. But I'll start with you, Samuel. What really are you bringing on the table for not only the people of Alego Songa, but for the 12th Parliament?
Thank you, Akisha, and let me start by saying that I'm grateful for the invitation to come to KTN Studios this afternoon. National Assembly is an institution that is meant to serve the country in the area of legislation, oversight, and representation. So in terms of representation and legislation, I hold the view that Parliament must remain that institution that will change the lives of Kenyans in terms of politics and also in terms of economy. And in that respect, I would like to say that my background is very watertight in respect to what challenges Kenyans face. I have a background in banking and also in politics. Not really new in politics because I became a politician when I was at the university. And thereafter, I became a banker and rose through the ranks to the highest level, director of business. And I would like to say that in that area of my profession, banking is critical for development of the economy. And last Parliament, the 11th Parliament, was the biggest Waterloo in terms of banking laws. Parliament had enacted a law but as today compelled the industry to come down. And I think from that perspective, I want to start by doing that. And in terms of representation, my people have suffered long from poor and weak representation. This is in the area of fighting for their welfare, ensuring that the national resources are cascaded properly to the people. And I think in that respect, I'm well prepared and ready to do that.
Didmas, what are you bringing on the table?
I have been engaging with the people of Millie constituency for quite some while now. I fully understand what they expect from me as their member of Parliament, owing to the fact that they were tired of eating mangoes planted by other people, and they planted a seed, and that seed is me. So what I'm bringing on the table is tailor-made solutions for the problem that will be dealt to them. Whether this will be done through legislation, I will do it. Whether it's done through engaging government and other stakeholders, I will do it. And of course, if I don't get it, I'll make noise, wherever platform that I'll get. Because in this country, at times, unless you stand and say, hey, I'm also here, no one can count you.
How would you assess how the 11th Parliament performed? He's talked about banking laws that he thinks was a fail for the 11th Parliament. For you, how would you assess how the 11th Parliament conducted itself?
I think I will comment about the performance of the 11th Parliament in terms of the various legislations that affect people directly in terms of improving their lives. They tried, but they did not pass various mandatory laws that will have completely affected the lives of the Kenyan people. And they spend most of the time in fighting. You are aware of the Firimbi movement. And I hope that the 12th Parliament is going to conduct its business totally different from what the 11th Parliament did. When you are a member of Parliament, you are not an employee of government, or rather an employee of a particular political party, but you are an employee of the people, and you must always work with the end objective of making the people who elected you happy. And I think the fulcrum of all our operations at 12th Parliament should revolve around the needs of the people that brought us in this house.
A number of young youthful MPs have made it into the 12th Parliament, both of you being among them. What kind of Parliament do you foresee with even about 14 independent candidates also making it?
I think before I respond to that point, I would like to interject on what he has mentioned about the 11th Parliament. From where I sit, I think last Parliament was a tragedy. First of all, in terms of advancing democracy, that is the first Parliament that refused to employ universality and consensus building in terms of lawmaking. And when he mentioned about the fact that we had a number of legislators, mostly from my party, who are up in arms against the dictatorship in parliament, when Jubilee government wanted to introduce draconian laws, and we had to make noise, my colleagues then had to make noise, I think that was in order. Because even in this parliament, you know that Jubilee numbers are more than ours. Yeah. And I've said that it is not going to be about numbers. It's going to be about leadership and quality of legislators that have come on board. And so I want to see this parliament that we are going to have as a parliament that is going to look at Kenya and how Kenya can advance both economically and politically, because political democracy and economic democracy are really what the things that Kenyans are looking for parliament to do. But in terms of what I think the next parliament should do is, one, we really need to go back to the drawing board and look at the history of legislation and where this country has come from. And we realize that this country has traveled a long journey. Those days when Parliament was never the voice of the people. Parliament was the voice of the executive. And at this point, I would like to question Jubilee that when the members of Parliament come, when we go to Parliament, we must be aware that we are going to represent Kenyans. No, we are not going to have Parliament which is an extension of Jubilee government. Because if that really happens, then we are going to have the whole confusion.
Vidmas, your party is being cautioned.
I think I want to make my brother aware that political parties are formed with the sole objective of consolidating and maintaining power. It's not about the tyranny of numbers, but about my party is the majority in the National Assembly. We have both the numbers. And we are going to use our numbers to pass bills that are going to assist the Jubilee government implement its manifesto, what we promised to the Kenyans. And we can as well also going to use our numbers. If the opposition will try to bring in bills which either they will want to use to share power, they want to advance their agenda, to enlarge in their house to accommodate the very many principles that they have, I mean, we will block. So if you think of forming something where power is not an objective, maybe you form an NGO or a foundation. But as long as you are a member of a political party, the reason why political parties are formed is to consolidate power. And the democracy means the majority have their way, the minority will just,
But you know, that has also gotten a number of people jittery because the tyranny of numbers, and you have both talked about some bad legislations that have come up, and most of it was owed to the fact that we had a tyranny of numbers. Now it's bigger. It makes a number of people worried.
You see, Akisa, political parties have different ways and formulas of outweighing each other. And I think ODM and other parties should blame themselves for presiding over fraudulent and bungled nomination process that makes them unpopular. They should blame themselves for not having an agenda to sell to Kenyans, but the agenda they were selling on how their principles will share power. And the Kenyans decided to give the Jubilee members of parliament more permission to represent them in the National Assembly. So they let them accept to eat the humble pie, and maybe they try 2022 to see whether they will have the numbers or not. But we are going to debate things objectively, things that are going to assist Kenyans, either within the 12th Parliament.
Akisa, let me say that you know that presently the country is in a state of stalemate as far as resolving the outcome of recent general elections are concerned. And I just want to inform my friend that I have a number of friends from Western Province, the larger Western Province, some of the MPs who have come on board. One of them told me that he's not aware how he was able to win the election. And so you will be surprised that even my friend here could be a product of computer victories we've been talking about. The point that I want to put across is that we are analyzing the Jubilee numbers, and we have evidence that a number of Jubilee governors, a number of Jubilee MPs are products of computer-generated victories. So I want them not to celebrate, because our case at the Supreme Court is very watertight. And that case is going to determine a lot in terms of what we think about our strongholds in Western, for instance, in Kisii, where our MPs lost unfairly. But let me say that, and let me educate my brother that that political parties exist to acquire power, but also to serve the interests of the people. And some of these political parties that we have, like Jubilee, do not know what democracy is all about, because they are political parties concocted by people without ideology. But the Orange Democratic Movement is a party that is founded on the principle of social democracy. And we believe that even when we get to power the way we are going to get to power shortly, the most important thing that we must address is the interests of Kenyans. And we must be able to advance democracy, to give Kenyans freedom to exercise their rights. And Parliament must listen to the people. Because when you start making laws that are contradictory, that are going to introduce dictatorship, the way I see Jubilee is trying to do, then we are taking Kenyans behind.
The tyranny of numbers, does it make you a worried man getting into the 12th Parliament?
I have not looked at the quality of MPs from the Jubilee side, but if we're going to have the kind of MPs we had, we're only waiting to clap and to vote, then that would be a tragedy. But I want to hope that Jubilee is going to present to us members of Parliament who will listen to reason, who will debate, and who are going to exercise their rights on behalf of their constituents. Then we are not going to cry about tyranny of numbers. So
Didmas, I'll let you respond on something he's talked about, computer-generated victories that he alleges went down to the governors and members of parliament, etc.
Kisa, I want to say this, that what will take Kenya forward is being honesty. If people can cultivate the art of being honesty, I think we will go far as a country. Because my friend here is a member of parliament elected for Lagos Songa, and he was elected based on the same process they are now challenging in court. I have seen his party leader attending the inauguration ceremony of the governor for Mombasa elect. I saw yesterday his other principal, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, attending the inauguration ceremony of Kitui Governor Honorable Charity Kalugi Ngilu. Okay. And what an irony, because you cannot be celebrating the elections of the people who are within your party.
All right.
And then you are challenging the same in the Supreme Court.
I would like you to hold on to that thought. I'll definitely be getting back to that point you were making. Let's quickly cross over to Kirinyaga, where we understand Governor-elect Anne Waiguru has already assumed office as the second governor for Kirinyaga County and currently is making her maiden address. Let's listen in.
To win this race. What our critics fail to understand is that in the history of politics the world over, whenever the people want change, nothing, and absolutely nothing